As political parties gear up for the commencement of political campaigns for 2023 general elections, the election management body, INEC, and other key players involved in ensuring peaceful electoral process are also strategizing on how to secure the process from campaigns to the final announcement of the winner. Kingsley?
You're right, Jumai, and this is based on the fact that a secure election environment is critical to the credibility of the exercise. But a secure environment can only be possible with adequate planning and implementation of security strategies.
Now, perhaps this informed the meeting of the election management body and security agencies to start planning on how to properly manage the election security with few weeks to the flag-off of campaigns by political parties.
At the meeting, the INEC chairman said that with a projected voter population of around about 95 million for next year's general elections, ensuring safety of everyone will be an enormous task.
He also added that ensuring the safety and security of voters, election personnel and materials, both sensitive and non-sensitive candidates, party agents, observers, the media, and transporters is a huge stress. That this responsibility has become more challenging in the context of the current security situation in the country.
Well, Jumai, election security management requires more comprehensive measures than just the deployment of security forces alone, as the technology that has been deployed for election in recent times have shown that they do work and they do add to the credibility of the process, but they also have to be safeguarded from hacking or manipulation.
Indeed, Kingsley, and with this kind of engagement, which is expected to trickle down, according to the lead agency in election security, which is the police, it is believed that the security personnel would be adequately trained to discharge their duties effectively during the electoral process to make it credible, free and fair.
Indeed, the training process has started. A workshop was begun last week, and it will take place throughout the country in the 6 geopolitical zones. The national flag-off was here at the Abuja International Conference Center. But as the clock ticks towards the electioneering season, formally, what strategies are available to safeguard the key players and materials for the election? And what kind of collaboration and synergies required of the various agencies to ensure that the exercise is peaceful, free and fair? And what kind of awareness ultimately is expected of the populace to enable them cooperate with the security agencies and election management body for the purpose of the elections in 2023? These are some of the issues we shall be taking a look at as we'll focus on election security management in Nigeria. I'm Kingsley Osawelo saying thank you for tuning in, and let me especially also welcome my colleague Juma Yusuf, who's been away for several weeks now. Lost count of how long she's been away. She's looking rejuvenated. Juma, morning and welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, Kingsley, indeed, and I've missed you so much.
You've missed the program. Don't miss me.
I've missed you. I'm Juma Yusuf. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. We're live on the network service of the NTA, and in line with our tradition, we shall serve our complimentary segments in the course of the program. But now, here's the morning news with our gorgeous Lydia Odije Ochi. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning, Kingsley and Juma. Juma, good to see you back, looking ravishing. Thank you for coming back soon. Now, let's start with Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, who has expressed formal appreciation to President Muhammadu Buhari for what he called the unprecedented federal presence across the state. The governor is assuring the president that Plateau people will pay back by ensuring that the governing APC retains power for the sustenance of his worthy legacies.
We just got approval making University of Jos as a cancer center. I saw about 3-point-something billion approved and a special center for cancer. So it's not a small achievement. The president approved the establishment of an orthopedic hospital, the only one in the North Central, and he approved Plateau State. He also approved the establishment of a federal medical center in Wase. Another one is a federal polytechnic starting this year. Mr. President also approved the conversion of our College of Education, Pansin, to a Federal University of Education, and immediately approved the establishment of another Federal College of Education. We were just celebrating that one when we understand that Mr. President has also approved the establishment of the Nigerian Law School, the Zonal Law School for North Central, and is established in Jos.
Worried by disturbing video images of 4 teenagers belonging to the same family he saw in the last video released by the attackers of the AK-9 train, Sheikh Dr. Ahmed Gumi, for the first time since the abduction of the innocent passengers of that train over 4 months ago, has reached out to the abductors and pleaded with them to consider the release of the poor children and their innocent parents. Consequently, the abductors have released 7 hostages. A statement from media consultant to Sheikh Gumi, Tukur Mahmoud, says efforts from Sheikh Gumi, with the support of a 7th senator from the north who does not have any relationship with the hostages, who chose to remain anonymous, have compelled the abductors to release them due to life-threatening health challenges that have deteriorated recently. Also released is a 60-year-old woman, one Hajia Aisha Hassan, who was said to have also been freed as a result of life-threatening health challenges. Only officers trained to handle sophisticated arms should man custodial centers. Follow-up to that is a need to build their capacity to competently bear and use sophisticated arms in defense of custodial centers throughout the country. These are part of measures to forestall further aggression on such facilities. Minister of Interior Rauf Aregbesola said this while on official visit to Kaduna.
Raising the capacity of managers of our custodial facilities to, on their own, stand up and defend their facilities.
Federal government has inaugurated council to revive the Ajaokuta steel plant. This is part of efforts of the present administration to meet the 2023 timeline to revive the steel plant. Experts in the construction industry are affirming the imperatives for adequate mix of building materials as a necessary foundation for quality of building projects. Members of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, are using their 30th Engineering Assembly to address the falling standards in the construction industry and the place of engineering.
Materials, yes, it could be one of the sources of the failures in structures, in engineering structures, but also even the supervisions. A client will decide to change supervision teams different times.
For you to practice engineering, you need to be guided by some codes, by some standards, because engineering is a profession that deals with human lives.
President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed former Permanent Secretary, Ecological Project Office, Dr. Habiba Muda Lawal, as Special Advisor to the President on Policy and Coordination. Before retirement, Dr. Lawal had successfully supervised a team that ensured management, identification, planning, and execution of projects to mitigate serious ecological challenges across the country with commendable results. Dr. Lawal, who served as Acting Secretary to the Government of the Federation from 19th of April to 2017 to 30th October 2017, has resumed in her new office. And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Jummai and Kingsley after this break. Stay with us.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time. No matter about elections alone, people talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message from the National Orientation Agency.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
The 157-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Railway is the first double-track standard gauge railway to be built in West Africa. The Mobolaji Johnson train station is a masterpiece, an infrastructure that is gradually becoming an iconic building in Lagos State. The modern facilities put the station on a world map of train stations. Likewise, other new train stations across the country built to world-class standards. The train and its convenience is indeed an admirable effort, with commendations from Nigerians.
This is a station that we have to commend the federal government for putting a beautiful face, empowering us in Lagos State, not only in economic and political arena.
I can say that I'm really impressed with the infrastructures in place. Kudos to the Minister of Transportations. Kudos to the federal government.
Truly, good things are coming out of Nigeria, and the federal government is deserving of all the applause.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
You're welcome back. And as part of efforts to promote small and medium-scale enterprises in Nigeria, experts advocate empowering more people to become self-reliant in soap-making business. Let's now join Alika Opanachi Arua for details.
The business of soap making is categorized by experts in the group of industrial ventures that it could easily be operated on a small scale with a relatively low capital uptake to boost economic development. With its immense potential, experts seeks to empower Nigerians to become self-reliant through this soap-making initiative that provides skills to bridge a demand and supply gap of more than 250,000 tons yearly, because further research shows that with a ban on soap importation, aggregate national output from local soap industry is about 650,000 tons.
The purpose is for you to start up a little business. With what they will give you today, you'll be able to buy this thing and make it yourself and sell it to others.
The soap market in Nigeria is an 18 billion naira enterprise, as figures from the National Bureau of Statistics put yearly production of toilet and laundry soap to about 800,000 tons, making this move crucial to job creation and revenue generation.
The advantage that they have is that even if you don't want to start a business on your own, you want to work in an industry, the first question they ask you, what can you do? What experience you have? At least with this, you should be able to say, I learned this. It makes your work easier.
Entrepreneurship is very important. It's very key. So if they are diligent in it with consistency, honestly, they will go places with this little knowledge.
With business news, Lika Opanachi, Arua.
Thank you very much, Alika, for the business package. Coming up next is newspaper review.
And our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Toby, is in the studio. Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning, Juma. Good to see you again. Welcome.
Good to see you.
Good morning, Kesley. Good
All right,
morning,
Bayo. Good to see you. Thank you. Let's begin by taking a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper. As usual, the front page is pretty busy. Above the nameplate, we'll take the following headlines. Federal government to generate 484 billion naira from e-payment channels. Federal government to generate 484 billion naira from e-payment channels. Buhari makes U-turn on Seplat ExxonMobil deal. 2023, wrong choice will consume Nigeria, says Obasanjo. An earpiece there beside the nameplate. Sheath your swords. Bode George tells Atiku and Wike, sheath your swords. Bode George tells Atiku and Wike. Dwindling revenue, that's the kicker for the lead story headline, which is a double-decker. Nigeria facing existential threat. World Bank warns. Says country ranks lowest in income among 115 countries. Insists subsidy should go. Federal government borrows 2.45 trillion naira from CBN in 6 months, despite fiscal risks. And the big story that's been trending since yesterday, see the photograph there of the abductees, the Kaduna train attack on the 28th of March. Terrorists released 7 Kaduna train passengers, abduct 5. These are 5 new passengers. These are not 5 new abductees because the Kaduna Abuja train service has not been restored. So 7 abductees released. I'm sure Bayo will speak to the details in the review. War massacre. Security agencies begin manhunt for financiers. Kano man and son suffocate while draining well. 12-year-old kills Nigerian mother in US, blames intruder. That's on page 4.
And I have quite a busy front page from the Al Jazeera newspaper too. And just below the maths head, we have minimum wage. 3 years on, 15 states fail to implement increase. You find the details on page 23. And the headlines in the Al Jazeera newspaper: PDP crisis, more troubles for IU. With riders, Wike, Bode George, others insist on chairman's exit, while board meeting didn't hold. And the side piece of the picture story you're seeing there, DHQ confirms identities of Oro church attack suspects. Details on page 2. Media doesn't have to be government advisory. You find that on page 2. That's coming from the Femi Additional, the spokesman of President Muhammadu Buhari. Dairy directs council chairman to reside in their domains. You find that on page 2. APC campaign organization cautions OB supporters against fake news. You find details on page 28. 2023, don't return rivers to era of fear, Abe tells governor, page 10. And the story Kisley read from the Punch newspaper. Terrorists release 7 more abducted Kaduna Abuja train passengers. You find details on page 9. And Federal Inland Revenue Service demands 1 trillion naira tax remittance from NDAs. You find that on page 24. And the picture story you see there, Senator James Falake, Senator Grace Bent, Speaker House of Representatives Femi Wajabiamila, APC presidential candidate Asiwaji Bola Tinubu, South African High Commissioner to Nigeria Samsanga Dennis Nseleko, and Secretary to the High Commissioner Bopelo Lafase during a courtesy visit to Tinubu at the APC presidential campaign office in Abuja yesterday. And coming from the Leadership newspaper, we have some headlines. 2023, Tinubu Obi on warpath over supporters' utterances. And with riders, call them to order. APC presidential candidate tells LP flag bearer, says Biafra obedient members are birds of the same feather. It's height of mischief to link my supporters to separatists. That's coming from Obi. Pope hasn't told me to reject APC campaign DG appointment. That's coming from Governor Lalong. Plateau governor's emergence has pacified northern APC Christians. That's coming from stakeholders of the party. At the top of the Leadership newspaper, FG can borrow 1.3 trillion to meet ASU's demand. That's coming from Umwahi. Dozens infected with new Langara virus in China. Jais Bank finances 3,000 houses in 10 years. And train attack terrorists, free family of 6 and woman. Coming to the Kenya elections, it is still photo finish for Odinga Ruto. That's it on the Leadership newspaper. Payo.
Thank you, Jumai. Well, let's start with the report on the abductees that were released. There were 7 of them. They comprise of a 60-year-old grandmother and another family comprising a 10-year-old child, 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and even a 1-year-old child, their father and mother. Information from several papers indicate that Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, upon seeing how the terrorists were flogging the abductors, made appeal for the rescue of this family, especially that some of the children had taken ill and they were in very serious condition. But for following the rescue, the release, therefore, of the 63 passengers, they were abducted on 28th of March. So far, we have now seen the release of about 36 now. We have 27 of them who are now still being held. It may be recalled that the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, still emphasized when he was briefing the media about the arrest of persons that attack Owo, that the Nigerian military is still committed to rescuing those remaining ones alive. Meanwhile, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu has provided some more clarification, and he says that yes, 5 persons that were arrested for their involvement in the attack of the Owo Church were arrested from Eika in Okehi local government area of Kogi State. Mr. Uju, 39-year-old, who was arrested somewhere in Ayitoro, was an escapee from the Kuje jailbreak, and he was not part of those that attacked the Owo Church. You will recall that the attack on the Owo Church was on June 5th, and the attack on Kuje prison was on July 5th. 1 month separated the period.
Yeah, I read that story. I just thought that those were details that should not in any way detract from the arrest of some persons in connection with the terrorist attack. The detail of one person wasn't actually one of them. That could come in the course of preparing the dockets, if you may, for trial purposes, if that's going to happen. But whether or not the person was part of them or otherwise, doesn't, as I said, devalue the commitment and the resolve, as well as the outcome of the efforts of the intelligence, security, and defense agencies in pulling in at least 4, if not 5, of those who were involved. If they were still at large, it would be a different story.
It's 5 of them. In fact, there is also further information now saying that financiers of those who attacked the Owo Church are also being reined in. Presently, about 9 of them have been arrested, and they are still on the trail, about 5 of them. So the long arm of the law is looking out very seriously for them.
And that also goes to say, on people not coming to assumption that these are the people that attacked a place like it was done when the Owo attack took place. Fulani headsmen. Are they going to retract that statement now?
There were speculations about the persons behind them, but now it has been identified that there is a cell. In fact, the governor Rotimi Akeredolu described it that there's a kidnapping cell that operates from Okene in Kogi State, and something has to be done about it, because all the 5 persons that were arrested from Okehi local government area were associated with the attack on the Owo Church. And the governor also added that they have been implicated in criminal kidnapping in Kogi, Ekiti, and Ondo states.
Yeah, but I think we discussed this yesterday, yes. Bayo, if you recall, and we also drew attention to the fact that Kogi should now be, if not already, in the eyes of the security agencies, a state of interest, particularly with regard to security matters. For a long time, there were sleeper cells, and 1 or 2 of the persons who were picked up years ago came from Kogi, and the incident was in Kogi, but we have seen an escalation in various terrorist attacks, as well as kidnapping for ransom in that location. There is a story. I know that you have other stories, but very quickly, let me throw this in. I read it from the front page of the Punch newspaper. And the story is federal government to generate 484 billion naira from e-payment channels. Now, this is over a 3-year period, as the story indicates in greater detail on page 19. And of course, it will be by way of electronic money transfer levy, and it's part of the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework introduced. The levy will be part of the Finance Act. My concern is, fine, the government should expect 484 billion, right? Again, economic experts have been drawing attention to the fact that while our service sector is growing, manufacturing and other key real sectors are not growing.
They're dwindling.
They are dwindling. So if this is the service sector, you have electronic money transfer for money spent on what? Imported goods and services. So I imagine that our focus should also be, how do we energize our real sector? How do we rejuvenate the entire value chain you find in the cotton and textile and garment industry? You find in the production of goods and services that we all pull in now from different parts of the world, rather than talking about electronic money transfer. If the government is merely just targeting levies, when you target levies, and those levies at the same time will, once you collect those levies, they will also go out by way of financing the imports that the country currently depends on. Well, that's what I thought I should say. Yeah.
Well, there's been information coming from the prosecution in the courts. The Blueprint is reporting that there are overtures being made by the suspended Accountant General of the Federation and 3 others to propose a plea bargain to those who are prosecuting them, the Prosecuting Council and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The suspended Accountant General and 3 others are standing trial for money laundering to the tune of 109 billion involving stealing and also money laundering. And the prosecuting counsel said that the overtures were made and is based on section 270 of the Administrative or Criminal Justice, and it was predicated on a meeting between the prosecuting counsels, the defense counsel, and the investigating officers of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. They were due to meet on Tuesday, but unfortunately, some of the counsel did not go, so the meeting was not held. But the interesting thing to note is that there is an overture of a plea bargain from those who are standing trial.
Are they returning the money?
Well, what is the implication of a plea bargain?
Well, the matter is on trial in the first instance, so I'll be limited in my comments. The next adjourned date is sometime in October. So when a trial starts like this, you allow the process to pan out, which is not to say that the prosecution cannot then introduce the element you're talking about, which relates to plea bargain. A plea bargain is usually a negotiation between the defendant and the prosecution to say, yes, these are the details you have. Yes, these are the allegations against me. Of course, these are financial allegations. We've had it before, so it's not a new thing.
Yes.
And then there were, of course, quarrels and arguments as to whether it should be part of our criminal jurisprudence or otherwise. To say, okay, assuming I'm not relating it to what is ongoing now with the former Accountant General of the Federation. Assuming the allegation is a person is defending counts relating to the embezzlement or stealing of 1 billion naira. 1 billion naira, in cash or in kind or otherwise. Of course, one would imagine that since the incident that related in the charge took place over a period of time, some of the money would also have been spent. So you are likely to get 1 full billion from the person unless it is sitting pretty in an account. So the negotiation could then be, all right, so I have 800 million naira from all that has been said. I have the following properties, not me, so that we not say, the following properties X, Y, Z, and of course, estate valuers can also take a look at those properties. Or if those properties had earlier been identified by the prosecutors, they could also be pulled in and said, okay, what do you want to do? You surrender these properties and monies, the charges could then, of course, also be reduced. And the severity of the punishment that you get could also then be reduced. So, assuming there are 6 counts, but then reduce it to just 1 single count, which is of a lesser gravity. But the state, that's to say the prosecution, is able then to recoup, there's restitution, majorly, of what the defendant was alleged to have stolen or alleged to have embezzled. And then that goes on. But of course, it requires quite some. And then there will also be back and forth. And once it happens, you go. But of course, if that happens, there becomes a judgment of the court. But you should be an ex-con.
Because it was applied in the case of the late Tafa Balogun, Inspector General of Police Tafa Balogun, and as well as Cecilia Ibru. Plea bargain was applied. At least those were the instances where
that's right.
Plea bargain was.
All right, Bayo.
Yes.
I think that's all we can have this morning with regard to Mr. Paribu. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again tomorrow. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with election security management with just 6 months to next year's general elections and campaigns flagging off next month. What is in the offing in terms of the security of all who are involved in the electoral process, including you as a voter or even a bystander.
Dodge ammo. Obi, what exactly are you dodging? COVID now. You are very funny. Is this how you have been dodging every cough and sneeze?
Yes, my guy. The thing don't serious.
Have you taken your COVID-19 vaccine?
Leave that matter for Matthias. I have heard plenty things like
Beggy, I have taken my complete dose of the vaccine, and as you can see, I am okay.
Why you come still dey wear mask?
To protect everyone from getting the virus. It's good to dey practice the protective measures as the vaccine work now to stop you from dying from the COVID-19 infection. This your explanation makes sense. Go and get your COVID-19 vaccine. It is available in most public health centers and some approved private hospitals.
COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Protect yourself and loved one. Take the vaccine. Stay alive. Let us all celebrate safely and responsibly.
Obi the Dodger. Abejo, I'm going to get vaccinated now.
This message is from the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Information, NCDC, NPHCDA, and partners.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
You're welcome back. Security is very vital in any meaningful venture to be undertaken by human beings, and one of such ventures is electoral process. Oyeyemi Ajayi in this background report gives an insight into the election security management ahead of the 2023 polls.
Security, a major theme in the sovereignty of every society. With much investment and efforts by all stakeholders, security is everyone's business. However, during election, the role of security cannot be underestimated. Electoral integrity requires an environment free of fear, intimidation, and manipulation. However, security during election process is critical, especially during campaigns, movement of election materials, voting, vote counting, and transmission of the results. This emphasizes the importance of election security management, which reflects that voters must be able to vote without fear, while other key players in the electoral process such as electorate, poll workers, observers and monitors, as well as the media can perform their duties without intimidation. As Nigeria prepares towards the 2023 general elections, efforts and plans are on top gear to ensure proper security for the process. Recently, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and security agencies had an engagement on the best way to manage the security in the forthcoming general election. At the forum, The INEC boss emphasized the need for proactive measures to ensure the entire country is secured for election to hold nationwide, aside the need to deepen the capacity of the security personnel to imbibe and comply with global standard of election security management.
One, that will be a robust interagency collaboration towards effective security governance during the 2023 general election and in other future joint electoral security operations.
With about 7 months to the next general election, there is time for proactive measures to ensure that the entire country is secure for election to hold nationwide.
The military is there to give support throughout the entire process and beyond, ensuring that as we support in providing secure environment as part of our operational engagement in internal security, that the conduct of the 2023 general elections will also be there to support the police and other security agencies in that regard.
As the stakeholders strategize towards a peaceful election, how often will these engagements be taking place before the election, and what strategies are in place to ensure that such engagement trickle down to the local level? How much of awareness are created for the public to cooperate towards having a peaceful exercise? What collaboration is needed among the agencies for better election security management as the country approaches 2023 general elections? Guests will be answering these and more questions shortly on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Oyemi Ajayi, for that background. With us in the studios, we have experts on security issues. Let's welcome our regular guest, Professor Etanibi Alemika, as a professor of criminology at the University of Jos. Professor Alemika, we're glad to have you this morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay. Also here with us in the studios is Dr. Habila Joshak, a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police. He was in charge of operations and a regular face on Good Morning Nigeria. DIG Joshak, we are glad to have you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
We also have joining us in the studio Force Public Relations Officer Miwa Adejobi. Thank you so much for coming.
Good morning. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the whole world.
All right, gentlemen, once again, we're glad to have you with us. Let's just begin by having a broad overview of what is unique about election security management and therefore what it entails. Let's begin with Professor Alemika.
Thank you. I think we can start with why election is important in itself. For societies that characterize themselves as democracy, they subscribe to the idea that the government is actually a position of steward for the generality of people. So the government is populated by representatives of the general society of the citizens. And to that extent, elections is the means by which the citizens choose their representatives in government. And the quality of your representation is dependent on the quality of the election. If you have high quality election, you have high quality representation, because in an effective election, you can reward those who have performed very well by granting them re-election, and then punish those who have not performed well by denying them re-election. So that is the weapon that in an ideal democratic situation, the citizen use in a way to regulate the representation it gets from its elected representative. So if that is that important, then the process, like I said, quality of the election determines the quality of representation. Then it is understandable why greater attention should be paid into it. The twist, of course, is in many circumstances people don't want to be accountable, and since election is a mechanism of accountability, as we found in our struggle in Nigeria, people would rather want to get to become representative on your behalf without your consent. And it is in that process you begin to have threat to election, and then you begin to have elections that are not free, that are not fair. A free election is one in which stakeholders that's electors, the people seeking for vote, and the general population are able to discharge their obligations, either to vote or to be voted for or to campaign and the rest of them without any hindrances. While a fair one is one in which all the stakeholders have the same standard applied in the process of election. So if you characterize yourself as an election, it is an important thing. But as we also say, election in itself, and I've already alluded to it, does not make a democracy. You cannot have a democracy without election, but you can have an election without democracy. And again, you don't need a lot of research to do that, except you want to call what we have in Nigeria today democracy. I call it civilian rule. I'm not sure it's democratic because of the level of rigging, the level of violence that we often find in the process. But having said that, 2023 is another time. As INEC chairman says, this is the time to begin to prepare. In terms of election security, I think that what we call an emergent trend, which I think is helpful, and I mentioned two of it. On Thursday we had this discussion. I think the introduction of certain technology is also making obsolete certain kinds of threat that we encountered in the past. If you take boxes, except you have the technology that went with it, you may not achieve much. So that may also mean we're dealing with an improved election. And I think the security agencies' conduct are beginning to be improved in the last even general election and then the off-session election. We no longer hear as much brazen misconduct on the part of the security agencies as we used to have in 2003, 2007. And finally, the major problem we still have is that of coordination, because about 13 agencies are regarded as security agencies on election day. Of course, the police is the lead agency. We still don't have a mechanism by which to bring these 13 agencies and be redeployed by one center. In other countries, in some countries, what they do is to hand over all security agencies to the electoral management body for that election period. They then become the ones that deploy all of them. So what we still have largely is that the police deploy its personnel, the NCDS deploy its own, all other organizations, military deploy their own. I think there's still a major problem. The Inter-Agency Consultative Committee, the ISS, which is a body or a committee co-chaired by NSA and the INEC chairman, has good plan, but they are not on the election. They are not in the field on election day. So I think for 2023, I think it's this coordination of security that we need to address, and also make sure that if there's a free election, there must also free deployment. We must not hear that some people have been paid, some agencies have been paid, their allowances and the other one have not been paid. These are the challenges you have in the field.
Yes, indeed, about logistics. Dr. Abilo Joshak, let's have your thoughts on it.
Yes, Prof, have said it all. That the off-cycle election that we've seen in recent time, there's significant improvement in the provision of security and in the flow of the process of election. And Prof, I've pointed it out again that there's a need for central coordination. In other words, one particular institution must be made to take control of how deployment is to be made and who is to be where, so that we have credibility. And I think also I could see that the Nigerian police is staging a lot of activities that has to do with training and retraining of the men, and other security agencies, including the military, are also invited. I think if we close the gap of superiority of service, we should look at who is coordinating, and we submit to such a person, and also make some input and ensure that the agency that is responsible for the, ensuring that everyone is that the process is moving is the Nigerian police. And so if all the other agencies submit to them and also participate in the deployment, like we've seen in off-cycle election, the recent one here in Osun, very great improvement. And I think that we should be able to do better than what it is.
DRG Joshua, thank you very much. Let's bring in now the first public relations officer, CSP Muyiwa Adejobi. Well, attention has often been drawn to the significant difference between off-cycle elections, such as we saw, for instance, in Ekiti and lately Osun State, and the general election. For off-cycle election, just one state, and there is saturation of security personnel in the circumscribed location. For a general election, the entire country is involved, and you have multiple elections taking place over a number of weekends. What special security challenges do general elections pose in terms of the overall consideration to make?
Yeah, thank you. The general elections will involve all the states, all the local government councils across the country, and that is giving us additional assignments, thinking of how to mop up men and officers to be posted to these local government areas and every polling unit. Apart from the staggered elections, that's the off-cycle elections that we have, we can mobilize neighboring states to go and assist that particular state that is running the election. Now we will need to think and have a very good operation order that will cater for all these deployments, and including other sister agencies that will assist the police. To not to buttress, but to just explain what the prof said. You see that on the field, there will be some agencies, not many, that will just arrive and start deployment. And I think the police has taken an action on that. As I speak with you now, we have drawn or designed the operation order for 2020 general elections, because we believe we need to start on time. We have done the operation order, and this time around the operation order is considering every security agency, including the military. What do we want them to do for us on the field? And sincerely, the military have been so wonderful. There's no military formation that will deploy without the consent of the Commissioner of Police on ground or the election DIG or AIG. They always report to the command headquarters, and many of them will always report to the command headquarters, except on some occasions where we have direct deployment, and I think that one has been discussed at the level of ISS, Election Security Management Body. The INEC chairman is co-chairman, the NSA is co-chairman, IGP is co-chairman, and they have taken decision on this. So for 2023 general elections, we may not experience that. I think every agency will drop its men with the police, and the police will use the operation order, a very big document, to deploy accordingly. So I don't think we should ever see any problem this time around. And generally, we have designed ways of getting additional support. Don't forget, we are just sending out 10,000 constables. We have just sent them out, and we are training another set now, at least augment our strength. 20,000 is not a small number when it comes to election security management. And aside that, one thing is to deploy. Another thing is for the men who have been deployed to know what they're actually going to do. We have new electoral act 2022. It's a very funny thing when you say you want to enforce a law and you don't even know the content of that law. So what the IGP has done is to organize a training session for all officers and men of the police force across board. That training started on 4th of August. I think Prof was the keynote speaker there. We laid the template for others to follow, and we are trying to replicate all this in all the geopolitical zones. So I speak with you, I think zone 1 is Horn, Kano. I think they started yesterday. Prof, I think Prof is the major dean of that faculty, and we have a very robust outline for them. We are thinking of how our men will be very fast with this electoral act, so that when they get to the field, they know what to do, they know what not to do. So we, with this training and retraining, with deployment of personnel, with the idea of the IG now that you can't go to carry out election duty without your allowances. IG said no. We don't want to be at the mercy of any governor, any political leaders that we are in your state, sir. We have arrived. What do you have for us? No, it's not going to help us. If you don't have good election, you can't have good governance. So IG said no. Even we are not paying to any command CPs to say go and give them. No, we don't want to have excuses. Bring your account details. We send the money directly to you. I think that one has helped a lot, and that's why we see that in Anambra we got it right. In Ekiti we got it right. In Osun, I think we have gotten it right. I will always get it right because these ideas will help us a lot to have proper election security management.
So the idea of moving away from governor, your boys are in town. What do you have for us? It's not obsolete.
It's not obsolete. Okay.
That's good news.
Some experts might say that it's easy to talk about it when it's on paper, but when it's come to actualization of these plans, sometimes some problems might arise. You sent out some constable out there. What kind of technology, apart from personnel, we need to talk about technology, which Prof raised here. What kind of technology will you bring into the play now in 2023 to ensure that there's no rigging, there's no vote buying, and you have eyes everywhere?
Well, I think the INEC has a lot to do, not the police alone. Like what you experienced in Nikiti assisted us a lot. I was on the field. INEC collocated ballot papers per local government. If you are in Ekiti, there is a color for your ballot paper. For you to snatch a ballot paper in Noye and go to Abu Ekiti or Aramoko Ekiti to go and use, it's not going to work. So I think INEC will do more in that regard. If they can still do that for 2023 general elections, it's going to help us. It's going to reduce the issue of ballot snatching, paper snatching, all this stuff. Because you know that when you do, it's not going to work. And aside that, the stakeholders forum, we always organize ahead before any election is paramount, where actors will sit with security agencies, with INEC, to discuss what to do, what not to do. We know a wicked man knows he's a wicked man. He's only waiting for someone to remind him that he's wicked. So with this arrangement on ground, with this drive, I think we're going to have a seamless general election in 2023. And let me say again that the IGP is trying to do something now to have ICT-based approaches in election security management. It's not easy to acquire drones. IGP has done a lot in this area. He has got about 6 powerful drones that can move 150 kilometers. And these drones are going to be configured into our C4I, that is Command and Control Center, domicile at the force headquarters, and we're having this command and control center in all the zonal commands. We're having 17 zones across the country, and this project is ongoing. The federal government is assisting the police in this regard, and we have experts who have been trained by IGP to man this. And I think we will have this more. The IGP is trying to get more drones to be connected to these command and control centers, and every command and control center has the geo map of Nigeria, where if something happens in a particular local government, you are going to see it on the screen that there's a problem in this local. No matter how small that community is, you will see it on our map. Then you'll be able to call the nearest police team to that place. So with this technology connected to our base, it's going to be very, very easy. And apart from that, the IGP is thinking outside the box to see how you can get body cameras, some gadgets that you can have on your chest to even record. You know, those that are always posted to polling units they are not harmed. When we have some of these gadgets, we can easily have records of events. When anything happens, you can tender this, which of course I know is admissible, in court, so that you'll be able to give accurate, credible evidence to prosecute anybody you want to prosecute. So we are working towards that, and ID is discussing with the necessary MGs, the ministry, departments, and agencies to see how we can get this. We are actually trying to embrace ICT approaches that will help us. We know it's going to help us. I think we have all these things. 90% of the assignment is done, and the rest is just for you to move as a human being, to just move up and down and to supervise things. So we are mindful of the fact that technology will help us, and we are not leaving that one out of it at all.
All right. Thank you very much, CSP Adejobi. Heartwarming that technology is being reintroduced. Just to point out, Jumai, I think DIG Habila was still in service at the time. In 2011, we had some similar technology that was deployed, and it was advertised in the news and publicized about the view that the police headquarters